Hey guys, thank you for joining us now. My name's Ben Carroll from Velflex. I'm all the way down in Brisbane. Now, guys, I have an amazing pre-recorded of all things. We've gone off field today and we've gone down to a business to show you the differences and comparisons between DTG, DTF, and screen print. Guys, I won't say too much more. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to be live, so you can write your comments. You can ask any questions. I'll be able to answer those live in the comments chat box while we're watching this, and then I'll be here live at the end to answer any further questions that you've got face to face. All right, guys, enjoy what we've done. Thank you for joining us today. My name's Ben. I'm calling from all the way from Australia here in Brisbane. Now, guys, I'm here today to talk to you guys about the comparisons between DTG, DTF, and screen print, the three different decoration processes that you can either use within your business or be choosing to use as a decoration choice by a supplier, you sending the garments and then printing them up. And we're going to go through the three different types. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of each. We're going to talk about when you're choosing a decoration choice, which decoration choice you actually need for your order. Why would you go DTG? Why would you go DTF? Why would you go screen print? Now, to make those choices, we need to know some details around how those printing processes are done. And I've got some really good stuff that I'm going to show you later on. I've done some off-site filming where we've gone down and we've actually been able to show you guys exactly how those processes are done. So that's coming up a little bit later as well. But guys, first off, and when we're starting to talk about these comparisons, we've got to understand why it's important within your business. Now, if we're talking about a business that is a supplier of uniforms and you're outsourcing, okay, really important to understand those three different types, DTG, DTF, and screen print, and actually understand when you're going to use them in your business and why. Now, most of the time it comes down to the order that you've received and the quantity, the style of design, that sort of thing. Now, guys, in a nutshell, screen printing, we're going to get into more detail, but screen printing is a traditional printing process, been done for decades, and it's great for those high volume runs, okay? Good quality runs that are, you know, one color, two color, not your full color designs that you see today. Okay, we're talking about the white print on the black garment or the black on the white or yellow onto a white. You know, we're talking about basic designs that are one or two colors, but you want lots of them. You know, you're doing 100 t-shirts or you're doing 500 t-shirts or you're doing 1,000 t-shirts, right? And the reason for that is when we're talking screen print, there's quite a bit of setup that goes into producing a screen printed job, okay? And that's screen making and it's coding of screens using emulsion, it's prepping a screen, it's putting a stencil onto a screen, it's doing a screen for every color. So with screen printing, you're gonna pay for setup, you're gonna pay per color. So with screen printing, there is actually higher setup cost if you're outsourcing for somebody else to do it. So you gotta remember, okay, if I'm going to be paying for a higher setup cost, I want to make sure that I can get that return over a large volume of prints. Now, there are benefits to screen printing is that you're going to get a lower unit price for per garment printed because it's designed for high volume printing and it's very quick. It takes a few seconds, you know, 5 seconds, 10 seconds max to print a t-shirt, a one color t-shirt print onto a t-shirt, okay? So it's very quick to do 300, 400, 500 or 1,000. Now guys, screen print, it's been around for years like I said, and it's also really good onto your cottons and your more traditional sort of fabrics and things that were around decades ago as well, because the inks really suit that. Now you'll see later on when we show you the process of screen printing, there is big dryers involved as well. So making sure that your fabric type that you're choosing to get printed suits screen print. That's really, really important. Make sure you talk to your screen printer around what type of garments they can actually print, because again, as you'll see, it's quite a big setup. It's quite a big process in the way that they feed garments on. Certain garments are not able to be fed onto the plate, onto the pallet that they need to print. So they might say, no, we can't actually print something on this position. You know, we can do left chest, we can do right chest, we can do front of the garment, but we can't do around the side, or we can't do sleeves, okay? Or if it's another type of garment, they might have very restricted positions and things like that. So If you're outsourcing, make sure you're thinking about the actual, what the garment is, okay? What type, what fabric is it, and what's the design? And if it is that one color, two color, and it's high volume, well, then you're starting to think screen print, okay? And you'll see that process and send it off. Now, where things went, and we think about technology and whatnot, and over the years, now DTG, in a summary of what DTG is and why you might choose to send something to DTG, is that DTG is digital. It's direct to garment. So where screen printing is make a screen, make a film, we're squeezing each color through per color onto the actual t-shirt, direct to garment is a digital ink print head, right? It's CMYK, it's all of the colors. You can do a digital photo. You could do just a red print if you wanted to, but you could also just do a full color photo or a very fancy design, just as easy as a one color, two color. It doesn't matter. The number of colors is infinite, okay? And this is using technology. Now, obviously, we all got pretty creative. Go back 10, 15 years ago, we all got pretty creative on like using Adobe products and design software and that sort of thing. And we started designing logos that were full color. And because of this consumer sort of need, our logos were becoming full color or having more colors in them. Printing technology needed to adapt. And so stepping from screen print, they went, how do we print garments that have got full designs and full colors? Well, we need to use a digital process and we need to print that ink down just like you do printing onto a piece of paper at home, right? So with DTG, it is printing directly digitally onto the garment, okay? And it's phenomenal. You can do little logos, you can do big designs, you can definitely print onto light and dark colored garments, but there are some caveats to it as well. So if your design is for 1,000 garments, well, you wouldn't want to be sending this necessarily off to DTG because it's quite a slow, or it's a much slower process per t-shirt, okay? Where DTG is really suited is if you were doing a 1 or a 2 or a 3 unit design, 5 unit, 10 units, 20 units even, no problems at all. But we're talking lower quantity units for the type of order that we've received, okay? Where the benefit is you could have 20 different designs for 20 different garments, and that's totally okay with DTG, right? Now guys, something you've got to consider with DTG is fabric type, okay? So we talked about design, we talked about quantity. With DTG, fabric type is really important. DTG is ideally suited for natural fabrics and not so much your synthetics, okay? In actual fact, synthetics can be quite difficult to print, certainly with the smaller DTG units, okay? Some of the more commercial, biggest stuff, you certainly can print polys and things like that, but DTG is definitely better suited to your natural fabrics, cottons, and you'll see that a little bit later as well. All right, guys, now comparing that to the final sort of product, a DTF, and where DTF has come in. This is the most current hype around printing decoration right now is DTF, okay? It's called direct to film. Now, DTG is printing directly onto the garment, where DTF is taking that printing process, but printing it onto a film, a bit of plastic, okay? So we're not printing it direct onto the t-shirt, we're printing it onto a bit of plastic. And why is that important? Why does that matter to us right now? Well, when we're printing onto t-shirts, we're printing onto the fabric per garment, and that piece of garment, that garment then needs to be stored or stocked, that sort of thing, okay? And we've got to move garments around. When we're printing onto film, the film is very static. So we can also batch jobs up, okay? So from a cost point of view and speed and efficiency of printing direct to film transfers now, okay, is a lot more efficient. You can print lots of little designs much faster, okay? That sort of thing. So where we think DTF is taking the best parts of DTG and then going, no, let's print it onto a film. Let's make it even better again because you can print lots of designs, you can nest them, that sort of thing. And what it allows you to do is print transfers that are ready to press, and you can press them when you want to apply them to the garment. So it could be a case of, if you're a business that's outsourcing your printing, you could get 100 transfers produced, okay, you could apply them onto the garments then as you need to, as you sell those garments online, as your customer needs, as your client wants them. So you get the economy purchase price of a higher quantity of say 100, but you only need to apply it onto 10 garments at a time as you sell those garments. So from a costing point of view, this can really work with businesses today where customers want that fast turnaround, smaller unit purchases for garments, that sort of thing. Okay, so that's where DTF really can come into it. It's definitely still full color. It's using the same sort of print head technology that we find in DTG, just printing on and creating a transfer first. Now guys, there's some massive other benefits around DTF over your DTG when we're stepping up to DTF, is because we're printing it onto a carrier, because it's now a transfer, we can now apply that print onto so many more locations on a garment. When we think about DTG, even screen printing, we're really restricted to the placement of where those prints go, okay? They can't be near seams, that sort of thing. They've got to be in the middle of platens and middle of the shirt and things like that. When we get to printing transfers, all of a sudden it's not just t-shirts, not just basic garments. We actually are able to print bags, caps, hats, umbrellas, where gazebos, compendiums, like promotional items, and not only does the product range increase, so too is the fabric type, because whether it's a cotton, polyester, like a synthetic, like a nylon, like whether it's a blend, the actual type of fabric makes it's so much broader, because the transfer can be heat applied onto various fabric types, including synthetics. Now this is really important, okay, because now all of a sudden when a customer walks in the door, it's not a case of going, what type of fabric is it? It's a natural fabric, yes, I can go DTG. Doesn't matter if it's a polyester or a cotton or anything like that, you know that you can apply a transfer to it. What's the placement? Well, now we can open up where they can go. They can go on the sleeve, anywhere that you need to do it. Heat, all you need to be able to do is get it onto a heat press. And obviously if you have a look, hopefully we've all got heat presses and we know how to heat press, and we've seen that you can get so many different bases and things like that to allow you to apply a transfer onto so many various garments. So when we're talking the comparisons and we're talking the evolution of printing technology, it's about meeting customers' demands, okay? And it's about meeting businesses' demands as well. So we've started with screen print, and screen print is about high volumes onto more natural sort of fabrics, t-shirts, hoodies, you know, cotton garments. We're talking 1 and 2 color designs. We're talking high volume runs because of the setup costs involved. Okay, it's then evolved. We've gone to DTG, where now it's obviously full color designs. We're talking about doing full color designs, and we can do various placements and things, but we're talking natural fibers. We're talking, again, still just natural fabrics, t-shirts, hoodies, the whole works, right? Take that next lot of technology and now wrap it up into DTF, and all of a sudden we've got the best of those previously, but we're able to apply them onto almost all garments in all locations and things like that. So they're the benefits, and obviously as the actual printing type benefit or suits the actual design the customer brings in and the garment that they want to print up and the place that they want to print up, as soon as the printing process aligns better with that request from your customer, it becomes more cost effective because it's easier to do. So it's easier for a supplier to do, but also easier if you want to print in-house. Now, when we talk about DTF and we talk about placement, you're going to see this a little bit later on. We filmed the space requirements or something, but DTF machines are becoming more and more readily available, where you can produce those sorts of transfers in-house as well. So not only is it becoming significantly more popular for suppliers to choose as a printing choice, it's becoming a lot more accessible for businesses in their own right to choose to buy this internally to use within their business, and where they can do not only just 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s and 5 units, very small quantities, they can get up to your 10s, your 20s, your 50s, your 100s, your 1,000 units, okay, because of the batching and the way that you can print lots of garments batched in as well. So, and from a costing point of view, it's very cost effective. Now guys, what I want to do now, you've heard the basics of those and where they're used. I want to wrap that, and I'm going to take you and actually show you exactly what screen print is right now. I'm going to show you DTG, and I'm going to show you DTF in a real business that has all three printing processes. They can show you, and we'll show you exactly how and why they use each one of those printing processes for different customer designs. Let's go have a look. All right guys, so here we are. I've come down to a good mate of ours in Brisbane, a Queensland T-shirt company. Now they've got all three types of printing. They've got the screen printing, which you can see behind us here. Callum's doing some prints so you can see it in action. We've got DTG as well and DTF all in one business. So we actually get to see how a single business can use the different types of printing processes for different customer orders. Now, first off, screen printing. We're in the screen print room right here. What is screen printing? Now, it's one of those real traditional garment t-shirt printing processes. Been done for decades, guys. And if we look behind, it's done using an ink, typically a plastisol ink, and it's printing and squeezing that ink through a mesh down onto the garment that you're printing, right? So it's using a big screen that's a mesh, and it's had a stencil made on it. I'm going to show you how that's actually done also as well. And guys, you're literally squeezing the ink through onto the t-shirt or onto the garment. You might do a couple of passes. Now, once you've squeezed that color through, goes around, you can see there's a flash curing over on the other side over there, which sort of makes it touch dry. And then if we have a look here just behind Callum, what we've got is a curing dryer. Now guys, from a size point of view, what you can see straight up is this is quite a big space. It's quite a big equipment, machinery operation here in terms of the printing, right? But it can be very quick, can be very fast in the way that it's getting through its garments. And so really good for those one color, two color designs where you don't have a lot of setup, but you can just repeat time and time again. You could do 10, 20, 100, 1,000, 10,000, okay? So guys, what I'm gonna show you, this is the printing process. You can see right here, using a squeegee, ink through onto the t-shirt. Garments then go over here, they're going to be cured. Now before this, we've got to ask ourselves, see this frame here, this screen, how is that made? Because that's part of that setup process. Well, we do that over here. We're going to squeeze past Callum, we're going to go over here. Now, guys, just around the corner, come down this way. And here you can see the guys are using actually latest technology right now to create that screen, okay? So they're digitally printing an image onto the screen. What that's going to do is it's going to then be able to take that screen and expose it. And from there, we're going to be washing it out. And what you're left with is you're left with a screen here that has a stencil in it of just clean mesh that allows the ink to print through, okay? And that's what you saw Callum doing earlier. This here is called emulsion, okay? And this is a UV activated emulsion. So obviously when you print the image on, we harden the emulsion, we're then able to wash out the print, and it leaves you just that mesh right there. Cool, guys. Now, obviously you can see here, we've got another dryer. There's another more sophisticated screen printing unit down here. This one here, able to do a higher number of colors, that sort of thing. So you can see the number of actual screen units that you've got on there. Now guys, why is screen printing and what type of job is screen printing good for? It's good for those t-shirt run, the traditional sort of garments like cotton garments and cotton tops and things like that. It's where you want fewer colors, but higher volume runs, okay? You don't want to be screen printing 1s or 2s or 5 units or even 10 units, because there's actually, as you can see, quite a lot of setup that goes on to doing a screen printed job, right? So it's designed for those higher volume runs. And to keep your costs down, if you guys can be doing 1 color, 2 color jobs via screen print, then of course, that's where that screen print sort of printing process is best suited. So guys, okay, so that's screen printing. Now, in this particular business here, it's all about a volumes game. The type of orders that come in, any order that comes in that's one color, two color, or three color, but high volume, very repetitive, the same design on lots of garments, that comes through their screen printing department because this type of printing is best suited for that sort of order. Now guys, I'm going to take you on now through to their DTG area where it's very commercial setup. Okay, this is really a great space to show you DTG. You can obviously get much smaller machines than what we're going to show you here, but just to show you how DTG can really be used in a commercial space. Now the type of orders that they get for DTG are the one-offs, the 1, the 2, the 3, and onto your t-shirts and fashion and uniforms and things like that. So let's go have a look. All right guys, so here we are, we're in the DTG area. Now DTG stands for direct to garment. Now direct to garment came about good 10, 15 odd years ago, and it's where computers came in and obviously full color designs and things like that. And it was a question of how do we get full color onto t-shirts, you know, cotton, natural fibers, that's what sort of it was about 15 years ago. And they've worked out how to literally take a printer, like an inkjet printer, and print that ink directly onto a t-shirt. Now guys, the machines that we see behind here are some of the best machines. They're the Cornet range here, and they're doing high volumes of garments. But what they're actually doing is very low runs on different designs. So where the DTG sort of space really sits is doing one-offs, doing 1, 2, 3 of a particular design onto your t-shirts, onto your fleeces, your hoodies, onto natural fibers, okay? Where DTG is not as great is onto those synthetics and polys and things like that, just from a washing and color sort of point of view, but natural fibers, it's great. Now guys, if we can see here, a business like this, obviously we just saw screen printing is using the screen print process for high volume runs and only few colors. Any orders that come in where they want full color designs or big prints, little prints, that doesn't matter. It's lots of colors, full color, and it's also short run. That's where we're using the DTG machines behind us here to get those orders out because it's so fast to print. For DTG, you don't have a huge amount of setup, certainly not from a graphics point of view. It's obviously taking that artwork, putting it into the software and pressing print so that it can start. Now, something that you see here, these machines are printing. What they do need to do is they do need to pre-treat the garments. Now, these machines here are doing it in the back of the machine, it's all enclosed, that sort of thing. But the smaller machines, the Brothers and the Epsons and a lot of the smaller machines that we have in our own shops, you have a pre-treat system that is separate, okay? So that's stage 1, pre-treat the actual garment itself, which is just putting like a solution onto the fibers of the garment that's going to help the ink bond. The next process is obviously printing down. Now, when we're printing onto t-shirts here, you'll see going onto dark colors, onto colored garments, they've got to print down a white base first. So you have a thick white layer going down, and then you have the color on top. Okay, once that printing is done, we've then got to cure the shirt itself. So we see these bigger dryers off to our side, guys, and you can see the size of them here. These garments are all going through that curing process where they're fixating that ink onto the actual garment itself. So when we think about space, when we think about process, DTG, although it's much faster in the setup and it's designed for doing those one-offs, those fewer runs, units, you still need to have your pre-treat, you do need to have your DTG machine, the direct-to-garment machine, and then you do need to have that curing unit as well before the garment is actually finished. So quite a bit of a space that you've got to have, and also the investment into the equipment. Also, there's dollars involved in all of that process and time as well in getting it right. Now guys, why don't we just have a bit of a look and we'll show you some of these jobs actually being printed right now. All right guys, so as you saw DTG, it's really fast at setting up and you can change from one design to another design really quickly in this printing process. So as a consumer, if you're getting designs, if you're getting small runs, 1, 2, 3, or multiple different designs onto cotton t-shirts and those natural fibers, then DTG is a great choice for you to send for that type of printing decoration. As you can see, coming off the back of this dryer right here, you can see all the different types of designs. It's not one design and it's lots of different types of designs. So that's what DTG is really good for, that fashion or uniform onto natural fibers, particularly t-shirts and jumpers and things like that, short runs, full color. Guys, the next thing we're going to move on to is DTF. Now, DTF is the latest craze in garment decoration. Everybody's talking about it, and it's direct to film, and it's all about taking that digital artwork, that digital file, full color, but producing a transfer first that is then heat applied on. Guys, we're gonna whip in here. Queensland T-shirt Company has all three, so we're gonna be able to go into a different room and show you exactly how those are made and why they choose DTF transfers for certain types of customer orders. Let's go and have a look. All right guys, so here we are now, we're in the DTF. Now DTF room stands for direct to film, okay? It's an iteration of direct to garment where obviously they're printing directly onto the t-shirt, directly onto the fabric. Whereas direct to film has a second stage, and instead of printing directly onto the product, they're printing onto the film, onto a plastic liner, okay, which is creating a transfer, which is then heat applied onto a garment later. Now, there is a huge number of reasons why this is a big advancement in garment decoration. First off, not only are you able to do obviously short runs, full color, that sort of thing, but also it's easy to do the higher runs as well because it's a real production volume sort of printing process. As you can see here, where they're printing away onto the film. It's a roll film, so a bit like any roll-fed digital transfer production that you've done in the past. The only difference is there's no cutting or weeding or anything of these transfers. What we're doing is we're using the old DTG or the current DTG technology, the similar sort of inks that are printed directly onto the fabric, printed onto the film, but in a reverse, so colored down, and then the white is printed behind. Once the white is printed, it goes through a powdering process where the glue is applied. So we are putting glue onto the back of this ink, and then it's cured in a curing process through like this dryer right here. So as you can see, all of the printing processes so far require a curing process, okay? But what you'll notice from this one, it's significantly smaller, okay? So for an area of printing to produce prints, DTF transfers are significantly easier to print in a smaller space, okay? What you'll see when the prints come out, they look just like this transfer that I've got in my hand right now, okay? So this here is a DTF transfer, okay? This plastic will be removed once it's heat pressed, and I'll show you how it's heat pressed on, okay? And the ink you can see on the back, it's got a white backing, and then there's glue that's actually been melted onto the back of that transfer right there. And that is all done through this process, as you see right here behind me. Now guys, why has DTF come about? Well, because it's giving the access of full color digital printing that's able to be done in many shops, screen printers, embroiderers. It can be done in uniform shops, that sort of thing. The machines are becoming smaller and more accessible for so many people who can create commercial grade wearable transfers that can be easily applied onto a garment. And as you can see, like I said, it's not taking up a huge amount of space. It is relatively clean. There's minimal setup in the way that we do the artwork. There's no screens needing to be made or anything like that. It's literally digital from the computer, full color design, we're pressing print, and it's printing out the transfer, all powdered through this system right here. With the DTF process, there is the ability to buy separate printers and powder machines as well. You can do it on flatbeds, you can do it where you're printing onto a sheet, and then that sheet can be powdered by hand and then put through a separate baking unit. So smaller, more, wouldn't say necessarily domestic, but certainly much smaller setups can be achieved with this DTF process. Now, guys, a lot of people ask us, what's the quality like? Well, the quality, obviously, it's very new technology, but it's certainly coming along, and it's using that DTG technology that's been around for so many years and been refined down. So the inks are certainly washable grade inks, and the glues that we're using are the same glues used on so many very successful transfers, the Ultracolor transfer, your Plastisol transfers. It's all the same glues that are bonding those transfers onto your garments that are being used in the DTF process. So from a commercial grade point of view, these transfers are very good and great for wearability through the garment. Now, why is DTF taking over and why is it coming about from DTG? As we saw in the other room, we're printing purely a lot onto the natural fabrics like cotton t-shirts and hoodies and things like that, because the color fixation onto polys isn't as good. But when we're talking about transfers and we're heat applying them onto the garment, it opens us up to the full range of garments that can be decorated. So it's not just t-shirts, it's not just hoodies, but we can do polyesters, we can do blends, you can be pressing onto nylons, you can press onto bags, caps, hats, t-shirts, umbrellas, you name it. Guys, using a transfer is opening up the actual product range list that you can press onto, whether it be 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 units, or you're doing 200, 300, 500, or 1,000. The DTF solution is a great choice for printing a full wide range of garments. Now guys, if we have a look in this room here, we've obviously got the DTF set up. We've also then got the heat presses around the back. If we see here, we've got the Hotronix 360 IQ. Now we're pressing caps here. So again, caps, you can't print onto caps using the DTG process, but here easily can be printing onto caps using DTF transfers. And again, not just one color or two colors, you could have a 2-color design, but it can also be full color, it could be a digital photo. The options are endless with the DTF process. So guys, this particular business, Queensland T-shirt company, they're using DTF obviously for full color designs, everything from small run to high run, but it comes down to the type of garment they want to print up. Okay, so if it's anything that's got a poly blend in it, if it's a cap, if it's a bag, if it's any sort of promotional item, that's where they're choosing direct to film transfers over the DTG and also over the screen print as well. Guys, DTF or direct to film transfers is a big one that's coming through. It's a very exciting space from low cost of setup, very accessible, commercially viable to buy the actual equipment itself and get it into your own business. And then all you need is a heat press, a quality heat press like this one right here, to apply onto the different garments. Now, massive thank you to our friends at QT Co here in Brisbane for letting us see exactly how their business, all in one roof, under one roof, uses those 3 different types of printing technology, whether it be screen print, DTG or DTF, and why they can use all 3 within their business for the right customer job. Now guys, let's start talking about pros and cons of each of those and summarize and bring them all together. All right guys, so there you've just seen all the 3 different types of printing process in one business and why they've got all 3 of those. Now let's just summarize that, okay? If you've got questions, make sure that you add them in, make sure you write them up so that we can answer them on the spot. Guys, pretty much pros and cons of each. Let's summarize them really quickly, okay? We've got screen printing. Screen printing is the choice for doing small color units, so small color designs or low colors designs, so 1 color, 2 color designs, and the higher quantity volume orders, okay? We don't want to be doing 1s and 2s and 3s, 5s or 10 units screen print. It's just not cost effective because of the setup. So cons, you've got a setup cost with screen printing, okay? And con, it is 1s and 2 colors only, okay? So it is limiting on the design. But pros for screen printing, pros, the unit price per garment printed is significantly lower, Okay, so it's great for promotional printing, great for volume printing, events and things like that, okay? Screen printing from a washability, brilliant, all that sort of stuff. It just purely comes down to the type of design and the quantity that they choose, okay? So that's the pros and cons of screen printing. If it's in your business, pros, you could do high volume runs, but cons, it does take up quite a big footprint, okay? So as far as being a screen printer, you've got to have screen making areas, you've got to have the actual printing carousels, you've got to have the curing areas. So guys, that's a con as well for screen printing. Now guys, let's talk about DTG, okay? Pros of DTG, right? It allows you all the colors, right? Infinite colors on design, okay? Can go onto your light and dark colored garments, no problems at all, okay? Great for small units, as well as getting up into some of your higher units. Like you could do 10, 20, 30, 40 units if you wanted to, but it's really designed for that fast turnaround, multi-design sort of ordering. You might get 20, 30, 40 different orders a day. That's not a problem at all, you know, so long as it's smaller volumes of printing per design. That's what DTG is really suited for. A con to DTG is obviously the requirement, you really want to be printing natural fibered garments, okay? So the type of garment the customer brings in, you know, if it's cotton t-shirts, cotton hoodie, cotton jumper, anything like that, totally fine. But if you get into synthetics, that's where you'll really need to speak to your DTG printer and see if they actually handle polyesters and things like that, and make sure that the result that you're going to get from that is what you're after, because there can be issues with color fastness and things like that onto synthetics with DTG. Now, obviously moving along to DTF, okay, like I said, this is sort of the most recent technical advancement in garment decoration, right? Now, it's a heat transfer that has to be heat applied using a heat press, of course. Now, the printing process you've just seen, obviously, much pros of it as far as outsourcing, full color, the cost is associated to the size, okay? So this is actually a really good pro, because if you're doing small logos, they cost significantly less than doing big designs. So you are really paying for the size, and that's because you can nest up all those logos as you saw as well, right? So from a ordering point of view, you're only paying for the size of the print. It can also be for small runs as well as your higher volume runs as well, so really good from quantity point of view. Design doesn't matter, can be full color or one color, and pro, it can go on all types of fabrics, okay? We're talking cottons, blends, we're talking polyester, so natural fibers and synthetics. It can go on to both of those. And placement, most importantly, I think about placement when I'm thinking about being able to use a transfer, unlike DTG and DTF, screen printing, sorry. DTF transfers can be applied on such a range of garments, okay? So obviously, customer comes in, they want a jumper, they want some t-shirts, but they also want an umbrella, or they want some compendiums, or they want a cooler bag or something like that. Guys, you can use the same transfers across all of those garments. So that's a real pro for the DTF side of things. Con to DTF, unlike screen printing and direct to garment, is it is that real two-step process. So printing of the transfers is one process, and then heat applying that transfer onto the garment is a second step in a separate process. So you've got to understand and remember that there's two processes to printing a garment using DTF. It's those two steps. Guys, obviously, if we're thinking about all three, they've developed across the years because of technology. They've developed across customer demand and needs, and also businesses' needs in terms of what they need to order to make their businesses profitable. Guys, I love the printing game. I love all three processes. They have a real place within businesses still to this day, because all three uniquely suit the right type of order from your customers, okay? So whether it be quantity, the type of design, whether it be one or multicolored, and the garment it's going onto, hopefully can help you dictate exactly the right printing process for that customer's order. And if you do choose the right printing process, then it's certainly going to be the most cost-effective way, because it's obviously the easiest to do it. and therefore that it's going to be sold at a better price, and therefore you've got better margin in terms of selling to your customer, and that's really, really important. Guys, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for taking us through. I hope you've enjoyed the filming of the different printing types and that sort of thing. I've certainly loved presenting this, and I can't wait. We're going to be answering all your questions live over the coming 10, 15 minutes or so. Cheers, guys. Thank you. All right, guys. Now, I hope that you've enjoyed that presentation right there. I certainly enjoy doing it during the week. Now, we've got a couple of questions here coming through. Add them onto the comments section there, and I'll add them live for you. Is DTF shiny, and can you second press with a cover to remove shine? Now, with covers, okay, different types of covers will change the finish of the garment, okay? Now, you got to remember, when we are using a transfer, it is a piece of plastic that is perfectly smooth, okay? And when you press it and peel that plastic off, definitely it's a very flat transfer, and it can look a little bit like a sticker at times. Different plastics, different suppliers, plastics that they're using can give you a gloss, a satin, or a matte finish, okay? So make sure that when you get samples from your supplier, you do check what it looks like. But can doing a second press with something over the top change that finish? Yes, it can, okay? So my recommendation, like Teflon. Teflon is a nice shiny sort of product. So if you want to actually make your transfer a little bit shinier, okay, you can use Teflon over the top. If you're wanting to matte that transfer, okay, and you think the transfer looks a little bit too much like a sticker, then what you can do is take, for a second press, use a bit of cotton or a bit of polyester, a bit of fabric, and that's going to help the garment, the transfer, to push into the weave of the fabric. And as that transfer pushes into the weave of the fabric, it's not perfectly flat anymore. So the light doesn't catch it. So then it does look matter, and it looks more pressed into the actual shirt and garment itself. A lot of people do a second press to get this look because it looks more embedded and a little bit closer to a screen print or a DTG sort of look. And using parchment papers and things like that, the matter, the product that you're using to press over the top, the matter the transfer will go. So yes, 100%, doing a second press with something over the top can change the finish and the way it looks. So cool. Guys, any other questions as we have a look? Guys, that might be it as we go. I do hope you've enjoyed that presentation. Like I said, DTG, screen print, DTF, it has a place in the garment decoration world. No 3 technology, none of those are going anywhere. They're good and excellent in their own right. But as a business, it's about choosing the right type of printing method for the right type of order that comes in the door. You know, from the customer point of view, how many colors are in the design? Okay, what's the size of the design? What's the placement that they actually want it? What type of garment is it? Is it cotton, natural fabrics, or is it synthetics? Those are the things that are going to dictate what is the best printing method. And if you choose the best printing method, it's going to be the most profitable for you because it should be the easiest way to print. Guys, we've got another question here. Ben, you mentioned DTF on umbrellas, and how does that go with waterproofing on an umbrella? Now, we've been doing transfers for close to 17 years now, okay? And DTF transfers are no different to the transfers of vinyl transfers or CAD cut transfers and plastol, that sort of thing. Using a transfer onto an umbrella, it's important to make sure that the glue that has been put onto the back of the transfer bonds with your umbrella, okay, bonds with the fabric. Now, that's my take on it. Certainly from a waterproofing, we've never had any issues whatsoever putting a transfer onto an umbrella and causing any issues from a waterproofing point of view. Certainly, they bond really, really well, but do know different umbrellas are made with different coatings, okay? So some of them can be nylon, some of them can be polyesters with waterproofing coatings on them. Always get a transfer and check, okay? When you're pressing transfers onto umbrellas, it's also really important to make sure that you don't
over press it, too hot, too long, because the glue has nowhere to go. It's not going to bond into the fabric, not like a t-shirt, okay? So if you press it too hot, too long, the glue will actually squirt out the sides of the transfer and not stay underneath the transfer. So if we're talking about pressing umbrellas and it being successful, make sure that you don't, not too hot, not too long, okay? And make sure you do a test to make sure that the transfer, the glue bonds to the outside of that actual coating. We've got a few more little questions here that are coming through. That's awesome. Yes, and we've talked it, and there's a question here. It's the same with PU coatings on jackets and things and waterproof jackets. Yes, make sure that you test those, okay? Jackets, same thing. Don't over press, not too hot, not too long, okay? Make sure that the glue isn't squirting out the sides. It's melting with downward pressure, but the glue stays underneath the transfer. That's the best chance you're going to have to a transfer sticking onto the outside of a waterproofed product. Have you found a shelf life on DTF prints, or will they last filed away for years? Now, guys, that's a really good question. And I'll be honest, I actually don't have the exact answer because DTF has only been around a couple of years. And so there's DTF producers who might have started a couple of years ago, but for the best part of most people, it is a very new technology. You know, we're talking months, 6 months, even 12 months. If you are storing transfers, make sure that you store them for the best chance of life. Store them in a Ziploc bag, okay? So make them sure that they're protected from the elements, but also put them out of light, okay? So put them in a dark storage cupboard. Don't have UV light shining on them, that sort of thing. You'd be surprised that how plastics and things like that change under fluorescent lights and under direct light. So make sure temperature, they're not in a hot space. Make sure they're sealed, air sealed, okay? If you've got the little silica bags, that sort of thing, from moisture point of view, chuck one of those in, and then make sure that they're definitely not in direct light or sunlight or anything like that. That is the best chance to store your transfers. For most of our experience, we say our transfers that we're producing and supplying, yes, you get multiple years of storage before you'd see any challenges with the application or anything like that. So next question, have we got any? And I'm looking at time. We are getting there, so we might go for one more if there is one. What is the wash standard for DTF? Now, it all depends on, guys, the quality of the glue on the back of the DTF and how it was produced. So a good quality DTF producer using a good quality glue will dictate the actual quality of that transfer and how well it bonds on. And then it comes down to how well you apply it onto the garment, okay? How well you've pressed it in, how well you melted the glue, and what sort of fabric was bonding onto. Do I expect 50 washes from a DTF transfer? Yes, I would. From a DTF transfer supplier, reputable one, Transfer Express in the States do a quality range. You've got Stahls UK also producing them as well, guys. And I know that's talking about us, but we want to make sure that if we're supplying transfers to our customers, it is good quality stuff. And there's a big difference between the quality of transfers using glue from cheaper glue, say from China and that sort of thing, and the glues that you source from Europe, okay? There is a big difference. And I know the glues that we use in all of our transfer manufacturing, significantly more expensive to buy than the glues that you're seeing coming through with a lot of the DTF machines coming out of China, that sort of thing. It's big difference, and it comes down to consistency as well. So different batches and things like that out of China, you can't always quantify how good that quality is. And unfortunately, if you're using cheaper consumables, you don't know until you've pressed it onto the garment and the customer takes it back and washes it, and then it falls off. So guys, we want to make sure good quality products, good quality transfers with a good quality glue will give you the best chance of having a transfer that's going to be pressed on and wash and last those 50 plus washes. Guys, thank you very much. It has been a sensational session. I enjoyed filming it. I've enjoyed chatting to you after this, and all the best. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and all the best with heat printing on demand. Thank you.